Yo, what is poppin', everybody? Welcome to Across the Nation with Jason. I'm your host, Jason. There's just a couple things I want to get started on this beautiful Monday morning. I just really want to kind of talk about some things that are going on in the world and some opportunities that I see in terms of how to grow your business, how to scale your business, how to kind of start marketing, and a couple of these different things, tips that I've learned from this past week that I'm now reflecting on. Okay, one sec. Sorry, I gotta kind of squat down, get a little bit closer. Sorry about my rooms being a mess. But okay, so here's the things that I want to talk about. I think that for setting up delivery, I think is a must for any business right now, right? Especially if you're a service. I know that sounds weird, and you might not like it. I think switching to a service based model where you go to people's houses, you pack up your equipment, and you go into someone's home. I think that that is a big, big must, especially as a transition. I think it's going to happen more and more, not less, right? So let's say that you run a chiropractic office, right? That you have a pretty decent model where you have a retail storefront, right? And you have this network of, you know, chiropractors and clients and all of that stuff. If you aren't putting at least half of your resources into trying to figure out how can I bring an adjustment to someone's home and set up quickly so then they can do it in a very comfortable way. I think that that is a very, very important thing, and I think a lot of people are missing it right now. So I think that, like, think about for me, right? So let's say that I'm nervous about COVID, right? And I don't want to go out. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to go and talk to Jessica or Jennifer while we're sitting in the waiting room. And the thing is also that's going to save you a lot of work that otherwise you'd be having to go through um, if you're going into if they're having to go in because you got to desanitize all the waiting room stuff, right? And I think that this thing. I think COVID has highlighted a massive need in the market for more at-home stuff, right? I think you really got if you're a product-based business, you really got to emphasize deliveries and pickups and all of that stuff for your business. I think especially if you're in any industry that's service based that you interact with people, right? I think counselors, I think that's a really big space as well. I think that that's a really something I think a lot more people can do. I think Zoom, FaceTime counseling sessions I think are going to be really really big. I think there is that thing where you want to be able to touch them and all that stuff. I totally see that, but I think you got to be able to start creating these online click funnels and to be able to have someone that just wants to set up a Zoom therapy session. Maybe they're not really comfortable sharing that in person, that they'd be more in that zone where they feel safe at home. But I do understand there's people that don't feel safe at home. That's why they need therapy. But then there's other different options and avenues that you can do, right? But yeah, I think that these are two, like, I think service-based businesses, I think definitely need to make a shift um, a lot more towards that at-home model. I think it's really big, and I think a lot of people are missing it. But yeah, so now what are next steps? So now we know that, right? We know that there's this shift towards this at-home kind of workforce, this at-home kind of, I want the most convenient thing for me now. What do we do now, right? So let's say that you're that chiropractic business. What are different steps you can take to make sure that you can get them to where they need to be? Okay, so let's break it down and see if what tangible services can you provide, right, at someone's home that you don't need any special equipment, anything, and what is it's going to be impractical to bring. Like let's say you have an X-ray machine. You probably don't want to X-ray people at their houses. I think that that's going to take a while, right? But what service can you do? Can you fold the adjustment table? Can you bring any like if you do the knee tap thing? Can you do that stuff? Could you do an at-home physical, right? So you figure out what services can you offer, and then you highlight those services that then you can offer. And then you make sure that the ones that you don't, your goal is to use those services that you do offer then to drive traffic into your actual retail store, right? In order to do the services that you can't, in case you want to increase that revenue and increase that kind of traffic that you're getting. Right, so you want to make sure you break it down to services you can offer, services you can't. What can't you, like, also I think for a product-based business, you got to figure out what can I deliver and what can't I deliver. When does it become impractical for me to deliver a product? Is there a certain weight that makes it so I have to get this thing, sold out of my store because it doesn't make sense for me to, put in the truck. There's labor that's associated with that. Break it down into what things can I deliver and what things can I bring to my client and my customer and what things can't I. If you break it down like that, that's a really valuable way that you can figure out where can I best bring value to my consumer and where my customer, right? So if you break it down to those two things, I think especially in this kind of crazy COVID time, that's a really valuable asset, especially right now for service-based businesses, right? So after you break it down to services you can and can't offer, you figure out how can I drive marketing and sales to this at-home services, right? Where can I make sure that I can target, right? So I think a really valuable tool is going to be Facebook targeted ads, right? So I think you guys, if you guys have worked with Facebook ads before, there's this little tool that's going to let you basically make this little circle that gives you anything within this 5-mile radius that you'll put ads towards, right? So let's keep using this chiropractic example, right? So you run this chiropractic business, right? You're doing pretty well. And then you realize that a lot of your clients are from this demo, right? That you have older men and women that are your largest client base, right? So you want to try to target neighborhoods and areas that are that consistent client base, because that's really going to help you get a lot of value to them, that you're giving them ads that are applicable to them and that they're going to be able to get a lot of value from. And I think that that's very, very, very important. So you want to run Facebook targeted ads towards these groups of people, right, that you're going to be able to get and scale. So you're marketing these services that you can do at home, and we say, hey, we will do a $20 adjustment or whatever your promotion is at your house. You do not need to leave. Give us a time frame and a window that you'd like your appointment set up. We'll come and meet you at that time. We can ring the doorbell, and I want you to know that all of our employees are COVID safe tested every other day. And we also wear a mask and gloves the entire time, and we also have desanitized everything, so everything's really clean and it's much safer for you guys, right? So you have all of that stuff. And I think that when you're looking at a lot of people that are really nervous about COVID or this or that or whatever, right, if you can really make sure that you're emphasizing that you're really safe and that this is a safer option than you going in, I think shifting to that model is very, very valuable, and that people are missing it, and that's a competitive advantage. Because I think that there's a lot of people that are holding on so tight to this, oh, I need this retail storefront, I need it so bad. But here's the thing, you're the people you have hired on as chiropractors, you already have a client base already if you're a retail business, or else you probably wouldn't be able to keep your doors open. So you have to realize most of the people that are coming to your office live within a certain distance, or at least live in town for the most part, right? That you can then target and then get those guys at an in-home experience and then be able to kind of grow and scale that. I think that's really good. And then with that target ad thing, I think that's another really big tool. And that you want to know something crazy? You can just follow hashtags. That's free. So you can look at, hey, like, let's just say we're talking like Monument Glen Eagle area. We're like, hey, Monument Glen Eagle garage sale group, my name is blah blah blah, and I run this chiropractic business. We're offering a free at-home adjustment for X amount of dollars. And that's just on us. We give you whatever. You give your sales pitch, you give your spiel, right? And we come directly to your house. You do not have to leave the comfort of your own home. You could even call it like the robe promotion, right? Like, hey, come out in your robe and get 5% off or get a free adjustment or whatever, right? Whatever you do in order to upsell, right? So then you can either start driving traffic towards those services that you do offer in your actual location, and you can get more people that way. Because I think a lot of people are really nervous about going out, and they try to avoid going out if they don't want to, right? I think, and also it's just so convenient. Like, man, I don't want to go. I don't want to, like, especially think about this. Like, let's say that you're a parent and your kids, and you've been like stuck with your kids at like an outside place. If you ever take your kids to the doctor's office, I know because I was that kid. I was a kid that was a freaking pain in the ass for my mom. When I was in the doctor's office, I was always doing all these things. I was messing with crap I wasn't supposed to mess with. But I think a lot of the times when you're at your home, your kids are a lot calmer. So then you don't have to think about, oh, I got to buckle my kids in, drive the 30 minutes or whatever to there and back for my chiropractic office or wherever I'm going to, right? And you have all these different things, and then if you're bringing this tremendous amount of value to your consumer, I think that they're going to also feel a lot more intimate connection with you, right? Because you're in their house, right? Definitely, I recommend if you're going through and training your employees and training, people that are going to be interacting with customers, that they really understand that the home is a very sacred place, and that you want to be very respectful in that space, and that you want to make sure that they feel really safe, along with like you doing everything in your power to make sure that you're making it a very comfortable environment for them, which is going to be a little bit easier, honestly, than if they were coming into your space, into your retail storefront. Yeah, I think that's a big, big value for them, and a really big value for you. And I think that's a really big opportunity that a lot of people are missing right now. A heck of a lot of people are missing right now. But yeah, those are really two big things. So yeah, so services offer, Facebook targeted. I also just kind of logistics problems. I totally would recommend figuring out what your dead cost would be if there's any people that you turn down in terms of business, which I don't think you would, because like most of the time your first, when you're getting a new client, usually just a consultation, and then you try to upsell. You kind of like you either break even or lose money on that transaction, so you can kind of figure out where your costs need to be in accordance with that, right? But here's the thing, man. I think that you can figure out creative ways to pack stuff, even into like a Honda Civic. Like I still remember I packed up I went on a trip with two of my buddies from my high school wrestling team, and we drove in my Honda Accord from Colorado Springs, Colorado, all the way up to Michigan. Wheaton, Illinois. We went to Illinois, and then we went to Iowa, and then we came all the way back. And we filled that thing up with so much equipment that you would not believe. But the thing is, I think that people can find creative ways of packing things, even into cars like that, because my seats could come down, and I could totally fit a bunch of that stuff. And you could use also that opportunity to give your employees opportunities to use their cars as write-offs, talk them through that process. If you don't have the bandwidth, right? Or like let's say that your doctors or whoever don't have a car, you can provide a vehicle. There's a lot of different options for how you could bring value and how you could do things logistically speaking with that. Because I think a lot of the times if there's equipment that you can collapse, but also if it just turns out to not be practical, you figure out what services you can offer at that point and how could you kind of improv it, right? And how could you get that qualified lead to then where you can tell them what you do and tell them and ask a lot of really good questions and figure out what their needs are, right? I think that's a really big thing. Instead of just trying to go in the upsell mindset, you really want to make sure you're asking really good questions, seeing if they're good fit, what they want, what they would do. Like here's the thing. Like let's say I'm a gym owner right now, right? There's another thing I was thinking about. Like this is what I'm talking about, like service-based businesses. I would go to someone's house and I would run them through an entirely bodyweight workout. I would say, hi, my name is Jason. I run Bowflex Gym right across the street. And right now we have a network of personal trainers that are looking to train people, right? So here's what we can do for you with little to no equipment. We'll come and work you out for an hour. And if you don't feel like we kicked your ass, it's free, right? And you start pressing that stuff. Because it's like if you can't be open as a gym or any of that stuff, you want to make sure that you're doing things that are innovating and putting your consumer in a very comfortable space where they want to purchase things. That's like the mindset and what you really want to be getting into. So yeah, so those are some kind of things that I was thinking about in terms of at-home stuff. So now I kind of want to talk about some product stuff, product-based businesses, because they're very similar, but they're also different in a lot of ways. with service versus product-based businesses. I really think that's the best way to define them. Um, I think there's actually kind of three. There's food, then products, like there's perishables, non-perishables, and then services. Um, and then there's services like on people, and then on things. I think those are kind of ways to break it down. And then they have interjections like computer repair, stuff like that. But those are really my four quadrants of kinds of businesses. And that, honestly, if you have a really good mindset of how to run one, I think you can apply a lot of the same strategies into other businesses. Like if you're really good on the product side, I think you're going to understand a lot of the things that you really did well on the product side. You can apply those same principles into a service-based business. But yeah, so on product side stuff, I think setting up at-home delivery is a must right now. I think restaurants have already felt it really, really hard. And honestly, what I'd recommend doing is I would invest a heck of a lot of money into my website and getting an actual, like my personal delivery guy, right? Where I would hire some 15, 16-year-old kid with a car and be like, hey, you're my delivery guy. I want you to hustle and I want you to get in and out as fast as you can. Our goal is to get you as many orders as possible so then you can't even keep up with demand, right? And then you're putting all this resources. Like I would recommend putting just as much time as you would to having someone waiting tables as you are putting into your website. Because I think that this is a perfect transition period for you to really emphasize that delivery aspect and that carry-out aspect of your business into a really, really good way. I think that Grubhub, this might give me some flack. I don't know. I'm sorry, Grubhub. But I think Grubhub and Postmates and Uber Eats and all that stuff, they're taking a really big chunk of your sales. So then you honestly, you have a better chance of breaking even, right, if you're using all these different services. And that's why businesses are getting hit really hard, because they're getting squeezed by these delivery services because they have to pay some person to go do this delivery. If you cut them out and you invest in your own personal website where you can then send that information, be like, hey, type in your address, you figure out a way to get someone that can make those click funnels for you, where someone can order their meal and then add it to the cart and then make that their food in the restaurant, and then you have your personal delivery driver go do it, you're going to save a lot of money there, man. I think that's a really big, or girl, sorry, that was sexist. I just say man as like in y'all terms. I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, I think really at-home business, like at like all these restaurants, they really need to invest in that. And I think for product-based businesses, honestly, it might be a little harder to do that. I think definitely setting up an in-store pickup is very critical. I think partnering with, I know I'm kind of biased, but I think partnering with a company like mine, but I don't know if there's any that are kind of willing to work with you in terms of taking kind of a small percentage of sale, not having you pay anything up front. Because Grubhub, Postmates, all those stuff for restaurants are making you do that. I think having Ocean really be in your corner here in terms of deliveries, I think is really valuable for your business. I am biased, but hey, even if you don't use me, I totally would recommend you going out and at least having some access to that delivery. Maybe saying, hey, this is going to happen in 3 or 4 or 7, 8 days, and kind of have that order kind of set and ready to go. I definitely recommend that. And then, hey, it's even if it's like you driving it, to that person's house on the way back after you have that online website or whatever, that's really going to be a big edge for you and your business. And because it's like it's very volatile, and you got to figure out how can I make it the most convenient shopping experience for my end customer. And that's where you really want to sit in, and how am I bringing the most value here? And I think by investing in a website, investing in your socials really well, those are really two big things that I think going into this next week or this next month that you guys should be sitting in, even if you're in a service-based or product-based business. So yeah, I'd like to thank you all for listening. Sorry about the video quality. I'm trying to improve it every little day. But I really appreciate it, you all, for listening into Across the Nation with Jason podcast. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the support. We're up to, I think, 8 streams now, which I'm just super stoked about. But yeah, so I'm going to keep making content, trying to bring value to you guys, and I hope everyone's doing great. Keep hustling, keep grinding, keep rising, keep grinding, keep pushing forward. Just every little day, get little wins. So I appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your day. Keep going. Love y'all.